So today we're going to revamp our bunny puff supply pack, which it needed, and the tutorial, which also needed because it was one of our very early ones, and now we're so advanced.
Well, we are. That was like the OG tutorial.
I don't.
Not quite. That was the goat.
Oh,
do you not know the OG?
I don't. I mean, I think we've been through this before, but I didn't retain it. So we have better tools, better techniques, better filming equipment, better everything pretty much.
Yeah.
Fur, fluff.
Yeah.
We were using Angora, which is wonderful and amazing, but sort of hard to work with, and it tickles your nose, and hard to get consistently. And now we have fur in the supply pack. We are also amping up the pack to make 2 bunny puffs. And we're including the fiber to make a seal point or a white one and a caramel fawn colored one.
Double the bunnies, double the fun.
And what's cool is, so we have a line of fur. Yeah, that's in our shop. And you can get the fur and make your bunny kind of any color if you wanted to make more. And the fur is sold in an ounce, and that's perfect. It's actually a little more than what's in the supply pack. So those other color options are available to you as well. And you can look at the fur line and pick anything you like. Oh, what's this one? Is this bison? That's pretty, like a dark brown.
Sure.
Or sable. All right. So you also need, if you're just getting started, you need some tools. You need a felting surface, needles, and I'm going to use the Face Ace quite a bit throughout this tutorial. If you don't have a Face Ace, a knitting needle, a pencil, anything that's smooth that you can slide your wool off will work for you. I might also use the Renzulli tool. Again, you'll probably have some option at home if you don't have this. And there's actually a few ways to approach the same shape or piece that we need, and I'll go through those and show you the different ways to do that as well.
You know what else you need if you're new?
What?
A positive can-do attitude.
A beginner's mind, a learning mind.
Yes.
Yes, that's true. That's true. I've been doing this for a long time.
Yep,
so,
but they can do it.
Oh yeah.
And you hide a lot with that fluff, so that's good.
It's all about the fluff. They're all about the fluff. Yeah, okay, we should, I think that's everything. We should get started.
Yeah.
So the bunny puff is made of some simple shapes. An egg shape, well, 2 egg shapes really. One is the body, and one is smaller and is the head. I'm going to show you 2 different ways to arrive at this shape. Your supply pack makes 2 bunnies. One will be tan and one will be white.
Which one are you going to make?
Oh, gosh, that's a good question. Are we keeping the old bunny puff up? I think I made a white one.
Yeah.
So I think I'll make the tan one.
I think so.
Okay. You have like 4 bundles in your kit. These are your core for each bunny. These are your fur for each bunny. So we can go ahead and separate everything out so you have, yeah, I know. This is like the best ever. So that we have, your little piles of what's what here. This is the platinum. Yeah? I'm like questioning my own self. Okay, so these are your accent colors, and we tried to give you a lot so that there's a lot of possibilities. The gnome nude is for nose and ears if you want to do, a little pink in the ears or on the nose. So that is for each one. Same with the black is for the eyes. Oh, this is a really thick one. I'm going to split this one this way. So that's for each one. And then the white I mainly would use on the belly of the white bunny puff and on some of the face, but I might use a little bit on the chin and maybe the belly of the tan. So I split that a little unevenly, about 1/3 to the tan bunny and 2/3 to the white bunny. This I'm going to use on the tan bunny. This is a natural brown sheep wool. And then each one gets a little bit of like color variation to the tips of their legs and ears. So that's what these colors are for. So he goes brown on his legs and has some brown on his face and ear tips. So the brown core is pretty much for the tan bunny. And then these, can kind of go either way depending on how you decide to color your bunny. So for example, the seal point on the white bunny could be the light gray with the white to the carob. Like that would look really good. You could put a little carob on the brown bunny. So I'm actually going to leave the rest of these aside just to pull from as I need them. So my white bunny pile, I'm going to move aside for now. How's that look, Milo?
It looks super.
Okay. All right, so we start with the core, and I'm going to show you 2 ways to achieve the egg for the body. So the first is to pull 36 inches, which is your nose to your fingertips with your arm outstretched. When you make the white bunny, the off-white chunky core is so much thicker, you're going to want to split it in half. This is not as thick, so we're going to work with it whole. So I'm going to tie a knot in the center, just a simple knot.
If you try to pull it holding the 2 ends far apart, what will happen?
So the roving is fiber all in alignment in like a rope form. And when you hold it close together, you can pull very hard on it and it won't come apart. That's because you're pulling on the same fiber. If you hold it farther apart and pull, it's going to pull right apart. So that's a helpful thing to know when you're working with roving. When you want to pull off a piece, if I say 6 inches, you just need to give yourself a little distance between your hands and it'll pull apart. But if you're wrapping a tool or a wire and you want it to be nice and tight, then you're going to hold the roving close when you tug so that you can tighten it down without pulling it apart. So in this case, I'm giving, I need to keep track of what's what here. That goes there. Wait, yeah? Okay. I need to keep, it's kind of in the middle. Like I'm not cranking down to tighten this, but I want a nice little knot in the center. On your knot, you have a flat side and then you have the crisscross side. So put the crisscross side up and take one tail and you're going to wrap using the crisscross. So I'm going to go over this side and come under and then go over this side and come under. So first I'm going to go over here and then just come under the bottom and then go over here. And I like this. I actually prefer the knot technique to the next technique that I'm going to show you. because I like the shape that it makes. So it's kind of like it's kind of making a little triangle. I've got a flat bottom and then the two planes of the top. And I'm not going to felt this a lot, just a little bit, so that what I just did stays. Now with this one, I can do the same thing, but I'm going to start to think about making my egg. So I'm going to make one end a little wider, a little bigger than the other end. So I've just got to find a comfortable place to get it going. And then come over here, and now I can just go around this back end a couple of times, see if I can build that up a little bit more.
If you're brand new and this is your first time, definitely keep a close eye on Sarah's hands and how she's holding and working the wool.
Yeah, and sometimes watching the video, kind of like absorbing visually the technique and the things that I'm saying, and then having the video go while you work is going to give you a little better success. To watch it and kind of absorb first and then do it with me. So when I look at my little ball that I just made, I'm thinking about one side being a little more tapered and one side getting a little more like rounded and blunt, and that's this side. And so I'm stabbing the butt kind of in on itself to really make sure that it stays nice and round. And then this side, I'm going to taper down, and this will ultimately be the chest. I also, because of starting out with the knot technique, I do have a flat side, and that will be the bottom. So I have a flatter side and a more rounded side. So just making the egg shape, you know, if you have some extra core wool and want to make a few before you even progress on the project, then pick your best one, because if you're just starting, they're going to get better with each one that you make. So that's the one I just made. This is the one I made before we started today, and they're about 3 inches, long. Let me get a ruler. I was using the Stab It, but I'll show you on the ruler. So from butt to chest, it's about 3 inches, and they're about 2 inches wide, maybe a little more than 2 inches, just to give you an idea of the size. So bigger than an egg, smaller than your fist.
If you're looking at your felting surface and thinking, wow, mine looks small, or my egg looks like a different size or whatever, Sarah's working on the Mega. So
yeah, this is the Mega Stab It. This is one that I started that's not big enough. So what I can do, just to give you an idea, I can just take another piece of roving, maybe another 12 to 16 inches, and wrap it some more. Well, I'm going to have 3 tan bunnies going here. Whoops. Okay, so I just pulled that apart. That's okay. This is my butt.
It even happens to the pros.
Okay. Okay, the other way is to work on Renzulli tool, the face ace, a knitting needle, anything that you can slide the wool off of. And this way we start at the end, we wrap out about 2 inches, and then try to keep your roving flat like a ribbon. Like don't let it twist as you go around. You want it to be flat like a ribbon. And then now I'm going to start crisscrossing from side to side. But I feel like this, you kind of end up with more of a torpedo shape. It doesn't give you the flat side. So I'm going to try to get a little more on the butt end here. And for a beginner, I think it's a little easier to get it like stretched out. Like you might have a tendency for it to just like stretch instead of stay within the 3 inches that you want.
So if you already have one body done, the other way, you don't want to be doing this.
I have
Yes.
a bunch of wool here.
Yes.
I'm showing the different techniques. If you're working from your supply pack and you're making the tan bunny,
Just make one.
yeah, just make one. So that gives me a pretty decent little egg. And I would need to add a little more fiber to this to build the butt up. But I can smush it into more of a crescent so that I have a flat side and a more rounded side. The trick is just getting one side to be more like the chest and one side to be more like the butt.
That looks like a little pastry.
We like the food analogies here. Okay. So the head is the same way. Let me pick which one I'm going to work with here. I'm going to work with this one. And all of these techniques, I love this project because, well, we have no armature. So we're doing an armatureless, we're not covering any armature techniques. But all of the techniques that create these guys, everything is applicable and useful to any other tutorial, any other project that you're going to make. Gives you a lot of technique material doing this project. Okay, the head, we want to take about 12 inches and I'm going to split it in half. If you're working with the off-white, you're going to split it in half and then in half again so that you're working with a quarter. But you want to be working with about a 1 inch strip. I also like to use the knot for the head. It can be done. I'll do both. When you make the knot this time, make it about 2 inches. Leave yourself like a little 2-inch tail. So I tie the knot a little closer to one end, but then when I tighten it down, I kind of scoot it the direction that it needs to go. And then with this longer side, I'm going to do the wrap. And we just want to end up with a little bullet. This takes a little bit of practice to target the wool, but you're going to end up with a little bean with a tail. It's like a comet.
You could throw it at someone if you wanted.
Yeah, it would definitely fly. Just be careful that it doesn't, slip down. And again, if you need to make more than one, you can do that. All right, that's that way. The other way, I would use the face ace just because it's a little more narrow than the Renzulli tool. We can get it a little tighter. But you just leave a 2-inch tail and then you start your wrap. For the head, it's like for the body, the knot technique might be easier, and for the head, this might be easier. Not sure. Try not to stab your precious tool. So totally the same result, just a different way. So again, I'm going for kind of a flat bottom. This will be the bunny's chin. I'm left-handed, so I always point things to my left. If you're right-handed, you're probably going to be more comfortable looking at things this way because this is the direction that you would be stabbing. So just things to consider as you're watching the video, especially if you're getting started. It's kind of like when my grandma taught me to knit and crochet. I had to flip everything around, and if you're trying to do things the way I am, you're probably thinking like, why Why do I feel so awkward?
Unless you're a lefty, and then you're grateful.
So this little tail is so that we can poof it out in equal, try to make an equal little, almost like a little plate that the head's sticking out of. And I'm just pulling the wool in each direction. And that is what is going to help us stick it to our body egg. So we want to go back. This is going to be his chest, kind of sticks out a little bit in front of his head or under his chin. So we want to be back from that, not in a line like this. So back on top. About a quarter of the way, I guess. Not quite maybe a third. And you're just using that fluff to hold the head on. And they always end up looking up. That's just the way it goes. I'm going to use a piece just to make a little extra neck support here. This is all my extra. I need to get out of my way. So I'm going to take about a 4-inch piece and then split it in half. With the off-white, you're going to want to, everything that's a half, you're going to want a quarter. So I start with one end on the body and then wrap around the neck like a nice scarf and then end on the body. And that just gives us a little extra fiber to make sure the head stays where we put it. So it's kind of like making a neck, I guess.
Did you hear what happened to the Energizer Bunny?
No.
Word has it he got arrested for battery.
That's funny. Alrighty. So now we're going to make some legs. And we're going to start with core. And then we're going to add our colors right onto it. So we're going to be making some color decisions like right away. I gotta get my notes and see what I did here. Okay. We're gonna take a 4-inch piece of core and a 6-inch piece of core. Off-white, you're gonna quarter. Wheat, we're going to pull in half. So your 4 inches are your front legs and your 6 inches are your hind legs. So let's start with the front legs. And the front legs, I'm going to work on the skinnier end of the faces. And I'm just going to anchor this down by getting around itself. It's a good wrapping technique, is to get it anchored by going right around before you start traveling. And then I'm going to travel up about 1.5 inches and back. And I'm looking for a real, as consistent of a shape as possible. Like I don't want it poofy in the middle necessarily. And now I've got to decide what kinds of colors I want to use. I think I'm going to use the natural brown and the brown core. I'm just going to pull thin pieces and do a little bit on the end. I want them a little darker at the end. So just going around like 3 times. And then you really don't need much fiber. It's a really thin piece. It's just like a tone, like a color, you know. And then that one I'm going to put in the middle. So I've got tan, brown, natural brown, and the brown core. I'm just going to give that a couple stabs before I slide it off. Okay, so this is the end of my foot. This is the part that attaches to the bunny. The end of the foot, I'm going to stab this back in on itself so I get a nice rounded little front paw. And then I'm just going to stab down the whole thing. Be real careful when you do this. If you have a grabbins tab, which I know I have one in my space, but I don't know if I have one. Yeah, do you mind grabbing it? Because I'll use it for the ears and stuff too. It's back in my other workspace. As Kyla likes to call it, my studio.
The studio?
Because I have 2 studios. But when you stab, just make sure that when you're stabbing back, that you keep your fingers out of the way. The direction that you stab with the needles is sculpting your project. Thank you so much. So making the shapes is part of it, but then stabbing with the needles is what really refines everything. So the grab and stab just works to protect your fingers when you need to stab something that's smaller in a more awkward way. Okay. I'm not going to felt too much towards the end here because that's what is going to attach to the bunny. So it's good to make another one so you know that you're doing it the same. And I only go about 1.5 to 2 inches because it's going to get longer when you take it off of the tool. The brown, I'm just going around the end, trying to keep it real smooth. And then the natural brown.
When we made the first one, you did not have this tool.
No, we did a different technique.
This definitely seems easier to get a consistent
shape. Mm-hmm. When you make the shape on the stab it, which we're going to do for the ears and the face, I feel like the colors get a little more incorporated. These can look a little stripey if you don't, tease it out. You can try a reverse needle if you're that, Really, the feet, you end up not seeing them. Like they're totally hidden under the bunny. But it's all good practice, and it's all there and part of the sculpture. So it's just kind of glancing at my colors. Another color combo for the tan bunny could be the natural to the carob. Just kind of depends on the look you want. Maybe I'll use a little bit of the carob on the face. The front legs go on the bottom in a V shape. So they just stick out. Let's see how far we want them to stick out so I can be specific. They're sticking out 1.5 inches. Mine are anyway. If your leg gets like really drawn out and long, which can happen when you're getting started, just scoot it back farther. You know what I mean? Like you can adjust the length of the leg by where you position it. And then I'm just going to felt down this more fluffy end, tan end.
So that body, you want not rock solid, but also not super loosey because nothing will stick in it.
Good point. Yeah, it definitely has the bagel feel. A little give, but a solid shape. If you overfelt your egg, it's going to be hard to felt things in. And keep in mind, we have to felt the fur all the way over this whole thing. So it's going to get more and more felted as we work through the project. The hind legs, we're going to make the same way. We can make them a little more foot-like like rabbits have just this like big chunky hind feet. If we work on the wider part of the faces. I have a little more wool here. I'm still gonna stick in the inch and a half to 2 inches. But because I have a little more wool, it's going to be a little chunkier. Okay. So this one, we're going to make more of like a wider foot.
So you're stabbing some of the color at the front you don't want there, you want the brown.
Right, I'm trying to stab the tan like back in on itself and then scoot the brown around it. And I can even give this a little bit of like a, kind of like a foot toe shape by stabbing the direction that I'm stabbing. Who's snoring? Notch.
Yeah, he's deep in sleep right now.
Yeah.
We should be more entertaining.
Yeah.
When we stop for lunch, he'll wake up.
So new people will find the more they wrap and the more they practice wrapping and seeing how you smooth those fibers in, practically felts it. There's just as much value in how you wrap to how you stab.
Yeah, definitely. I think even more so as you develop your skill in wrapping. You're going to find that you stab less and things go faster. And so that's my shape when I pull it off, and I need to get the tan back in there on itself on the end of the foot. Get that brown around. And then just stab the whole foot a little bit. Wool is really forgiving, and there's so much that you can do. I can't fit it all in this tutorial, but as you watch more and more tutorials, you'll see me troubleshoot. You'll see the different ways we can approach problems and fixing things and making something bigger, making it smaller, undoing it altogether. So the hind feet, I like to kind of stick out at more of an angle. Still a V, but a little wider. So I think I'll give this brown bunny a white chin and a white, maybe even a white chest. That could be fun. And a white belly. If I wanted him to be totally caramel, I could put the brown. I mean, I have all this left, so all I have to do is touch on the ears and the face. So there's plenty of this. I could put the brown across the bottom. But I think I'm going to put some of the Sarafina white across the bottom. And I'm going to try to just pull a nice... Gosh, this is pretty. This is like so white right now. Oh my gosh. It's terrible. Okay. So I'm just going to have this nice white fluffy belly. I'm going to leave the fringe unfelted. I'm just going to let it stick out on the sides, and I'm felting over where the legs attach, so that helps to hold them on further. And I'm really just concentrating on the bottom of the bunny and not worrying at all about the fringe that's sticking off the sides. It's going to get incorporated into all of the fur that we put on.
Another thing that we see for beginners in particular, also really pay attention to. I'm talking like people are watching this and not paying attention. I know you're paying attention, but it's a lot to take in.
It is a lot.
The amount of fiber makes a big difference too. Often people's projects somehow get enormous and you often need less fiber than you think.
Yeah, you can always add more fiber. So a little less to start is better. It's easier just to add more than to try to felt something huge smaller. You know, that's a big time consuming approach. All right, so that's where we are at the moment. And the next thing that we're gonna do is make some face shapes.
That's good. It needs a little face. It's looking a little.
It's looking crazy.
A little weird.
Let's get a chin on there, and I'm going to use the this is the Sarafina white, which is the very white top coat that's in your kit. You could make a if you decide to make a brown chin, you could either use the oats or the wheat. I'm going to wrap the round end of the Renzulli tool, and I'm kind of going to just stay in one place. I may be traveling a little bit, just a little bit, like an inch and an inch plus. And I'm doing this the same way as the feet, but I'm going for a bit of a more flat shape once I pull it off. And then I'm going to round this end into a little nicely rounded. I'm trying to think of an analogy. It's kind of like a thumbprint or like the tip of your finger. And then stab it flat and just leave this end.
Thumbprint cookies are good. I'm in a pastry mood today.
You're like, give me some sweets. I think I'm pretty much always in a pastry mood. Yeah. Unfortunately. I don't understand why nature made fat and salt and sweets so delicious. And turnips. So, I mean, I love turnips, but I don't I'm not sitting here like, I want
to. It's harder to find pastries, I think.
Yeah.
Couldn't just go anywhere and get a pastry.
Some cultures don't even have, like in Nepal, in a lot of Asian cultures, they don't bake at all. Like if you have something sweet, it's fried.
That is tragic.
Yeah.
Why not have both?
Okay, we're gonna put this on so that we start to see our face here. So I need to go under the head. I want the chin to just kind of come even with the tip of the nose. And I'm going to stab this on. And I think I'm going to switch to a single needle. So I have a little more control here. If your chin ends up huge and chunky, you don't want to take it down the neck. I've just got a little bit of fringe here and that's okay. But you don't want the shape to come down the neck, because then you're like, okay, where does my head end? And it gets a little bizarre looking. If your chin ends up way too big, pull some of the fiber off the end. And I don't remember if I really specified what I used. This piece is about 4 inches long, and I pulled off I didn't, you know what I mean? I didn't
just a bit.
Yeah, I pulled off a 3/4 inch, 1/2 to 3/4 inch strip. All right, so now we've got a chin, which is very, very cute. Okay, we need now a little muzzle, and I've done this in a lot of different ways. I find it easier to make the muzzle out of one piece, and I will show you that. I'll show you that technique, and I'll show you a technique on the face ace. I don't want to overwhelm you with too many options, but Some people do just find, one or the other to work for them. So this is my brown core that we put on the end of the feet. I've been pulling off of it, so it's not quite a full width strip, but I'm going to take about a 1/2 inch strip here. And I'm not going to need, this is about 8 inches long. I'm not going to need all of that. But what I'm going to do is wrap and then pull off what I don't need. And I want to take this ribbon and wrap on the round end of the Renzulli tool, if I can get it started here, a nice consistent 1 inch tube. So that was 3, 4. I'd say 4 times around is good.
And then you're smoothing that fringe
I'm
in.
smoothing the fringe around so I don't have like a big chunky end. It's all one unified piece. And then when I pull this off, I want to get the fiber kind of more to each side with a little dent in the middle. So I hold it very firmly and actually give it a tug. And that gives us, if I just stab this to accentuate it, that gives us this little kind of bow tie type shape. And if I put that on my nose, it becomes this little muzzle. So the dent right in the middle and then the fringe going around each side. It's a little tricky to get this, I'm going to stab this chin down a little bit more. It's a little tricky to get this started. Rabbits have an overbite, so because of their big front teeth. So we definitely want this to hang like somewhat over the chin. In other words, we don't want it way up here with this great big chin. We want the chin kind of tucked into this, this shape. So I'm going to start by holding it in place and really just stabbing that center line. And then work on the side and mainly stab the fringe down. And you can see how I am over the chin as well. Whenever we make shapes for a face, you're gonna build your skill in smoothing them, understanding how they become one with the core that's underneath. And then that way you end up making a face rather than like chunks of pieces. The other way to do that would be to take 2 pieces and work on the face ace on a wider part of the face ace. And so you're going to make each side at once. So I would slide that off. I would stab, one end a little bit. And then this would be the center of the muzzle, and this would come around the side. So if you have trouble doing it in one piece, you can definitely do each side in 2 pieces.
The nice thing about the one piece is, in theory, both sides are more the same.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know why it just works better for me. So I'm trying to get a little overhang here and then have it at the top of the shape taper onto the head a little bit. Okay. We need to get 2 little cheeks on each side, and then we're going to make 3 shapes that really like just kind of bring the whole head together. So using the wheat core, I'm going to pull about a 4-inch strip. I'm going to split that in half. This might be a little bit much. You might want more like 3 inches. And then I'm going to stretch it out so that it's under 1 inch wide. Just stretching, learning to draft and stretch your wool is a great refinement because you can get a lot of control over it. And then in my hand, I'm just going to fold about a 3/4 inch pillow. So just take it, fold it over, and then I try to make 3/4 inch folds. I think 3 is enough. And the reason that I make a soft pillow versus a wrap on the tool is because this is mushy now and I can really shape it into place. So I'm going to put it on the side of the cheek and I'm going to taper the one end onto the muzzle. And I'm going to smoosh the other end into the back of the jaw. I'll show it from the front. So now you're really getting that rabbit cheek. So I think this was just a little bit much, so I just pulled a little bit off. Yeah, and if I wrap it a little tighter, then I have a little more control over it. And it's always hard to get your two sides symmetrical. That's a challenge no matter how long you've been felting. So the front of this shape, if you look at it from the top, I'm bringing onto the muzzle and I'm letting it blend. And the back of it, I'm poofing into more of like a poofy cheek. And the top of it, I'm felting in, the rabbit's eyes are gonna go right here, so. If you are watching the video and not making, you're going to see how this comes together and then you're going to be like, oh, and then when you go to make it, it's going to all make sense.
Are you saying that people don't think it makes sense right now?
I feel like it's a little bit of like, what is she doing and what's going to happen? And, you know, and we put all these shapes on and the head can get pretty big. So you've got to, I think having a sense of what everything is, then you know how to gauge more how much wool to use. All right, this is a really fun part because we're going to make 3 shapes, all the same. 2 are the ears and 1 is the nose and forehead. So I'm going to set that little guy aside. What we need are 3 pieces of 2-inch, we need 3 2-inch squares. And your tan core, that's going to be right off the whole piece of core. Your off-white core, you're going to split it in half and then pull your 2-inch square. So you want it to be really consistent. You want to lay them horizontally on your felting surface. If you have a smaller felting surface, you can do something like this. So I want the fiber traveling horizontally. And then we're going to use our colors to change the colors that are going on here. So I'm going to do brown and carob at the tips. I think I'll put the carob underneath, a really thin layer, and the brown on top.
So you're pulling off not quite a wisp, but almost
like a wisp, yeah. It's just like a color, like a glaze.
Similar for the brown.
Similar for the brown because we don't need to add like a whole bunch of bulk here. And then I'm taking my natural. And on the ears, I'm not trying to keep tan at the bottom. I'm just making them brown. I'm just making them this nice brown color. All right. I'm stabbing this down a little bit just to keep all my colors in place because we got to flip them over. get this guy out of the way. Okay, we're gonna flip these over because we need the pretty colors on the other side. Flip them to the side horizontally so that your dark tip is still farther away from you. And then draw a center line. Let me get a little stronger needle here. Draw a center line so that you know you're centered and you're down the middle of your fluff. And then we're going to draw sort of like a house shape coming out from that and then straight down. It's kind of like the end of the Renzulli tool. If you have it, you can outline that. And that works really well.
That makes them the same too.
It makes them the same, yeah. So when we stab into a piece like this, it's embedding in the felting surface a little bit, which we want because now when we fold our sides in, it's going to fold at that line. So I'm doing the top and then I'm doing the side. And I don't want to roll it up. I want it to like flop over so that I have a nice flat, consistent shape. At this point, I want to pull it off of here because it's going to start to become embedded. And the stab through actually makes a really pretty color blend on the other side. If you have a punch tool, that's a great tool to use right now. If you don't, just keep using the needles that you have. All right, before we get too far on that, I'm gonna do the other one. I like to do one side first. I either go top, side, or I do one side and then the other side.
Once you get ears on this thing, it's practically done.
The ears are everything. The ears and the poof. Now I can put a little pink in there before I get too far because I want it all to felt together. So you can either go, well, I'm just going to go vertically pretty much.
That was another pretty much a wisp.
Yeah,
little
just a
wispy
wisp. I have one wisp bigger than the other one. Let me get a little more over here. All right, I'm going to hit this with the... So these are my ears. So even though I started with the same amount of wool for all three shapes, we're going to do the third one a little bit differently. These I want nice and flat, well felted because they're not going to get felted anymore. Although I'm not concentrating on the end because I do use the end to felt into the head. I'll show you that in 1 second. Alrighty, so there's my ears. Now this third piece is going to become the nose and the forehead. So I start out the same, but I don't want to get it as flat. I want to have, and not as well felted. I want to have a little more give on this. So I'm going to do the same shape. But I'm going to leave that right about there. Just like that. And this is going to get sculpted on. So I don't want to keep stabbing and stabbing and not be able to manipulate it onto the bunny. Okay. Let's do a little black eyes. And then when we put the forehead on, you'll see where it needs to go. So the black eyes, I've done, oh my gosh, so many different ways, but you want to pull a really narrow strip and then take about a 3-inch piece. And they might look a little big when you start, but they're going to get like lids and stuff around them. They get kind of incorporated into the other shapes. In other words, this is even bigger than what it looks like here because there's fiber coming over it. So I like to you can fold this in your hand, try to make as a sphere as much as possible. So I'm tucking the sides in and then rolling it a little bit and then tucking the sides in and then rolling it. This makes, you want like a petite pea, like definitely bigger than a BB and smaller than a pea. When you stab an eye on pretty much across the board, you really want to try to get it round. Sometimes people end up sort of like elongated and almond shaped. The eyes do end up almond shaped, but that's because of the lids. So when I make this initial eyeball, I really try to get it round by stabbing in mainly at the sides. I'm not stabbing into the center very much. And it goes right on the cheek, kind of halfway from front to back on the head.
You're pretty much going for bug-eyed right now.
Yeah, it's going to look crazy. Every sculpture does.
You've done those on toothpicks.
Yeah, I've done them, like rolled them in the palm of my hand. Done it all kinds of ways. I'm really trying to nestle it into the top of the cheek. So here it is from the front.
Ah!
It's important to look at it from every angle. Look at it from the top and make sure that your eyes are, symmetrical. So really just going around the edges mainly right now. Okay, so this is my nose and forehead piece. And bunnies have this great big fun forehead. This is going to be the point of the nose. Right beyond that, if I want to tease the fiber out a little bit, that'll help it blend. So it's not such a stiff shape. And now I got to be a little awkward here. And come down on the top. All right, so I want to leave the point sticking out just a little bit. You don't want it back here. You want it sticking off a little bit so that you can shape it into the end of the nose. And then I want these edges, I'm going to put a little fiber to really blend it. But I want these two edges to blend into the face shape. And then hopefully the forehead is going to make some sort of like eyebrows, like come back and make eyebrows. I do think my bunny is a little flat-headed. So before I felt this on, I'm going to make a little pillow to put between the eyes. In other words, he could have a little more bulk of a forehead between the eyes here. So I'm taking a little 3-inch strip of wool and I'm just going to roll a pillow and then put it right here. Now, depending on how big your initial head piece was, you might not need that. But I felt like he was too flat, so I added that piece to give him a little more poof.
You're also not pulling that piece so far down, that so tight to the back that you're flattening everything.
Yeah.
Right?
So this, I can pull some of this off or I can leave it, but this is going to come around like the back of the head, basically. And then I want to try and get this kind of tucked around the eye. And then I can make a cute little brow by felting a dent over the eye there. If this piece just kind of doesn't work out right for you to do all these things, you can always add another piece. Like we can add another piece to make a brow, for example. So I'm not completely like finishing all of my decisions on this at the moment. I just tucked his little nose tip in a little bit. I'm gonna get the ears on, and then I'll make more kind of permanent stabbing decisions as I get more things going here. But the ears, I'm gonna fold. I'm gonna crease at the bottom. So this is a choice, like how big you want the ear, where you stab this fold. But definitely try to leave yourself a little fringe for attaching.
I think the ears should be big.
Yeah, you like the big ear?
Gotta be big.
Especially with all the poof going on. I have a little bit of a wonky ear here. One side's like thicker and tighter than the other. Sometimes I've wrapped a little wool around this. I'll just show it. You could put a little wrap around it if you wanted to have it be more definitive. This ear's wacky. This one's pretty consistent.
It does not look wacky.
Okay, good.
It feels wacky?
Yeah, well, the color is a little lopsided.
That's what's going to give him his character.
All right, so I'm going to fan out the fluff and position these on the back of the head. Their ears come out pretty close to each other on the top of the head. So you don't want them like they're kind of high and centered on the back of the head. There we go. Starting to look like something.
Well, what do you call a group of rabbits hopping backwards?
I don't know what.
It's a receding hairline.
It's funny. You even make John chuckle, sort of.
Sorry.
He's like, ha ha ha, on the inside. I know it.
I am.
All right, so we have our main face shapes done, and we have to do a little, like, color blending and tweaking. We are close to being ready to put the fur on. I want to make some blending on the face, and I made this color. I'll show you how. We're going to take a little bit of the natural brown, like just a swath, and the tan, and a little bit of fur actually, but I need to cut the fur into half or thirds because it's very long, and we don't want like that super long fiber in there.
Wow, they're even learning blending in this
Blending,
video.
yeah. And so you just stack it up, and then pull on the ends and restack it. If you have a little pet brush or carding brush, even if you don't have hand carders, you can take it and pull your fiber off in layers and then do it again. But if you don't have the brush, just restack in your hands. So this gives us something that's not quite as solid as the tan, not as dark as the brown. And with that little bit of fur in there, it's going to blend into our body color. So I want to take a section of it, a little like 1 inch wide section, and go right under the eyeball, the center of it, right under the eyeball. And then fold this down. And that's going to give us a nice little poofy cheek. And you can decide how much you want that to stay fringy or felt down. But for now, we're just going to keep putting the pieces on and then decide. This side's always harder for me.
How can you tell which rabbits are getting old?
I don't know how.
You just need to look for the gray hairs.
And then I'm going to put a little bit of this like going up each side towards the ear. You don't want your ear right on top of your eye. So you want to get a little bit of head space between the two. And that could just be by defining it with some fiber. So that gives you a little distance between the ear and the eye. I always have one ear turned each way. Plus it kind of goes over, you know, stabbing your ears on, which helps everything stay put. And then I think I'm going to put one piece this way. So take a nice little fluff and go. There's a lot of different ways to do this. You go this way. I'm going to go up the forehead and then let this like fan out towards the ears. So I'm letting the fringe do some blending here. And then I'm letting this fluff blend into the ears a little bit. And then the last place that you might need to blend is on the muzzle here, which I might go a little darker.
Oh, darker.
Well, it's very dark. It's the brown basically. So I'm using brown, natural brown, and just a little bit of wheat. Making a little pile of fuzzy darker color here. And you only need a tiny bit of fuzz. Oh geez. I just want this area to be a little more loosely gently transitioned, I guess. Oh, that's a nice color. Oh, I like that a lot.
Really pulling those multiple colors together gets you
So, oh, it's
the
infinite.
most natural.
Yeah,
The most natural look too.
definitely. I'm just letting the fringe kind of do the blending here. I like that little face. It's a good little face. All right, let's get the fluff going, and then we'll know what else we want to do.
You're
with
almost
them.
done
I
with
know.
the face. You've got
But
nose,
the fluff.
the nose and the little white dot in the eye, and is the face done?
Yeah. I'm gonna put one more poof going up the back of the head of this blended color because I don't put the fur like all up on the back of the head. I start the fur on the fur mainly stays on the egg shape. So that helps. Okay, so I could do a white chest because he has a white chin and belly. This guy is totally tan. Does have a white chin, but I just went right to the platinum. But I think I'll try the white chest. I think that'll be a fun change. Whichever fur you decide to use. Here's the way it works. You want to choose, you want to pull a length. So this is very long, so you have to have your hands very far apart. And a length is a good, is like a good piece to work with. You might have to restack it. Like you want these 5 to 6 inch fibers, they really are 6 inches, like all in the same span. You don't want some sticking out over here and some sticking out over here. So if you need to, like, restack it and make sure it's all solid. And then as we work, you're going to want little pieces of wool. I'm going to use this. You can use the off-white chunky core. You can use, I'd say use the core wool that coordinates with the rabbit that you're making. I just grabbed this oats because I'm just doing this little chest section. But you need these little thin 2-inch strips, and these are your staples. Fur does not felt very well on its own, if at all, which is good because we want them to stay puffy and brushable.
But they need to stay on.
So I'm going to put the center of this. I'll start right under the chin here. And I'm going to stab that on. And then I'm going to pick up a staple and I'm going to stab that on. I'm going to grab a stronger needle. And I want the staple fluff to come over to the sides of every section so that none slips out the side. So it's holding it on in the center, but also because it's felted well on each side, the fiber can't go out that way. Now, since I just did this in white, I'm going to right in the center, I'm going to do the next 2 staggered out to like a, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a brick pattern. Like you don't want everything lined up in the same line. So I'm going to put these to each side. And they don't have to be immediately next to each other. About a 1/4 inch between is good. If you do them right tight to each other, first of all, it's a ton of work. you might run out of the fiber that you're using, because we didn't design it to be put on that thickly. And also, this poofs out so much, like you can't even find, where my sections are in this. So you don't need it super, super tight. Okay, I'm doing one over here, and then I'll put one in the center, and then I'll switch back to the platinum.
So if you were doing this with platinum, you just
be using all the platinum, yeah. I think there's enough white fur to do this, and still have enough for your white bunny, because it's got a lot.
Even if you're doing all the same color, do you start in the same spot there?
Yeah, I usually do under the chest first, and then I work from the head back.
Okay. This little style is pretty unique.
What style?
The poof, the bunny poof.
Oh, it is. It is really fun.
I have a joke to go with that.
Oh, you do?
I do. How do you catch a unique rabbit?
You sneak up on it.
You do sneak up on it.
All right, now see how we don't see his legs already? I'm going to switch to the platinum, but I'm going to make myself some little fiber strips first. We used to put woodles in with this, which was yarn, and then you use the yarn, but I think this looser fiber approach with the fur is better, and it doesn't take that long to make yourself some little strips. Oh, you guys are gonna like this. You're gonna like this fiber. So you really want to work with about a 3/4 inch piece. You don't want too much. It'll be too clumpy, and it's easier to see the sections if you do great big sections. And you don't want too little, because it'll take forever. But I do go back and forth about a half a dozen times to make sure that it is well felted. So I might do 2 on this side and then 2 on the other side.
And this fur technique can be used.
I'll use it a
all
lot
over.
Of different ways.
You do this for hair on a
human.
Okay.
Beards, manes. So whatever I do on one side, I want to go and do on the other so that I stay consistent. So I put one down here and one like in here.
You cover ground somewhat.
I know. When you get to the body, it feels like
forever.
Yeah. This bunny egg is a little smaller than the ones I made to prepare.
I was watching our first video that we did on this, and it was winter. Apparently the Olympics were happening, so it must have been, February?
Okay.
When's Winter Olympics?
I don't know.
I don't know, but you asked me what, well, I said I would enjoy being in the Olympics.
Okay.
It was enjoyable watching our conversation. You asked me what sport
Okay.
I would do. I said the luge, because speed sounds
Yes.
fun.
Yes. I can see you with your goggles.
Right?
And your helmet.
Right? I
And your
envisioned
scruff.
it. Yes, I envisioned it all over again.
That's fun. What would your sport be, John?
The Winter Olympics?
Yes.
I'd probably be a judge.
Curling, you could do curling.
Talbot got into curling.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I always love the slalom, like the downhill skiing.
Yeah, I commented that figure skating would be a little tough for me. So would skiing.
Yeah. Since you don't have any legs.
Yeah, it's tricky. Luge is good.
Just sit in
Strap
there
me
and
in.
go. I watch over and over. Oh shoot, I'm gonna forget their names. They did a routine to the Sound of Silence. I think they're French.
Okay.
It's just absolutely incredible team. And you know, it's just amazing to watch. You know, he's throwing her in the air. The complete trust and skill that they both have to do this. At one point, he throws her in the air, but he stumbles himself so that he doesn't mess her up. You know what I mean? Like, he's like launching her and he realizes he's not quite balanced, but he makes sure he does her right. And then it's just amazing. And she's all like upside down and head against the ice and
While like flying along on these little steel blades.
and then they make it look graceful and effortless, and that's one of my favorite things. This piece, it's a little thick, it's a little much, so I'm just taking a little bit off.
They make it look easy until you get out there and try it and you're like, wow, standing up is hard.
Yeah, standing up is hard. I'm like the little like teeter-totter skater, like just keep me right here, I'm good.
I was always on those PVC walkers.
Do need to go ice skating. Is that even a thing right now?
I don't know.
Outside, sure.
Yeah.
Ooh, that sounds chilly.
Okay. So I've got them going. So when I work, I pretty much have like this front section done and I'm ready to start going down the back. So again, I'm going to start here. I'm going to stagger so that they're not all in a row and I don't end up with a weird part. I just want to make sure that they overlap. And when I come down the sides, I want to get, pretty close to the bottom all the way around so that the poof comes right out off the side. So you got to go all the way, sections all the way around the butt.
He's very fancy with his little white chest.
Kind of tucking this one under his head fiber. Yeah, the more you interlock the ends of the strips, the better. And you can see like how much more felted this initial shape is getting with all this fur stabbing.
So would you call that kind of maybe a herringbone type
pattern? Yeah, kind of. I'm more not. Yes, herringbone brick. Just as long as it's staggered.
Oh yeah, you said brick.
Yeah.
The other thing I did in the last video was a lot of singing.
You did?
I did a good bit.
Did you do a lot, or did you do it well?
Oh, no, just a lot. Well, what don't I do well? I was really feeling the poof. The poofy, bunny, silky, silky, poofy, bunny. You know, lots of that.
Yeah.
I figured I had to bring that because...
Definitely. We got to hang on to some of our original goodness.
How can you not sing that song when you make this?
People started watching for a reason, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, we got everybody hooked.
with your bunny poof jingle.
I bet people sing that. Sing along. Silky.
You want me to edit in like lyrics at the bottom of
Oofy.
the bouncing bunny puff?
Now Andrew has to compose something. We need more lyrics.
The piano. I mean, something's got to make the time pass when you're doing all this because it's a lot of stabbing.
Is there a bunny puff dance?
Make all the oh. Yeah, but we
been a while.
We might have to. It's been a while. I believe the bumblebees. You did a little bumblebee shuffle.
I did a little MC Hammer pollen pants bumblebee shuffle.
John, the things you missed.
Yeah. Should have come on board sooner.
Silky bunny, poofy silky bunny, you are a winner. I might have you for dinner. Bunny, silky, poofy, bunny puff. He's starting to look a little bit like me, actually.
It's the final floof. Maybe. I said I sort of have to like fluff and assess. Let's see here.
Oh, you're going to go for it. You're brushing.
It looks like a hot mess. Well, the brush brings it together. Don't worry about some stuff coming out because it will. But so much is locked in there that won't. So, yeah, that looks good. I like to get the nice poofy halo around the head. See that? It's like you're like, oh, so much is coming out, but that's not even a full piece. This is how much fur I have left on this guy. So a few little details. I'm going to put a white dot in each eye, just with the teeniest amount of Sarafina white. I like to go just high and off center, like at like 1 o'clock.
Little sculpting around the eye.
Yeah, just needed a little more stabbing. I was a little negligent there. So if you stab your white fluff in the same place each time, you need to start with a small amount of fiber, but it will diminish down. This would be a fun project for reverse needle too, just to do some blending and pull some different colors out. I don't think I'm going to give him a pink nose. I like the color of his nose as it is. But you do want to get a little Y shape stabbed.
If you were to do a nose, would you just fold a little triangle?
Yeah, you could just fold a little triangle. The end of the shape that we made really does make a nice little nose. But yes, you could put a little pink
Right on top of that
yeah.
spot.
I had a thought, what was it? Reverse needles. Oh, I don't know. I think and I think this white I'll just stab down a little bit more. But I brought the fur, right down to basically what would be the surface that the bunny's on the butt, on the sides, and on the chest. You want it to be like a nice round floof. I think that's it. That's a fun project. I'm very pleased with my little fawn bunny puff.
You and your tempting little critters.
I know, and all the fur color possibilities. And then I have so much fiber here. I still have the whole white bunny, but there's a lot of fiber in this project. And the blending, like the possibilities of mixing, which you saw. So now that you know, when you do your second one or make more, and you need that perfect color on the ears or the legs, you can blend. There's just tons to learn in this project. So I hope you guys had success and fun, and I hope you'll share your creations either on Facebook. Our group is called Sarafina Felting Fanfare. If you use hashtags, hashtag Sarafina Fiber Art or Sarafina Inspired, hashtag Bunny Puff.
Yep, Bunny Puff.
So yeah, we hope to see what you make. And thanks for joining us, and hope you'll join into some other projects. There's tons that already exist and tons more to come.
Bye.
Bye.